who doesn't know what she's doing, picks up a crossbow to move it and ends up firing it, and it shoots the maid in the mouth and goes through her throat and kills her.
Oh.
No! Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today for another wonderful episode of the Scary Movie Project. I am your host, Matt, and with me today is my good friend, everyone's good friend, Sarah Alpin is here today, and, well, she's in another kind of context. Usually you know her with Laughing with Gingers, but today she is here because we are going to discuss a bride's wedding night, which takes a sinister turn when her eccentric new in-laws force her to take part in a terrifying game. We talk about 2019's Ready or Not. Now, Ready or Not, lots of puns in this episode possibly. You guys love Sarah. She's on. We all do. But you may not know she's also the hostess with the mostess of the Wedding Dish podcast. Yeah, that's a thing. She's a rock star wedding photographer and a networking guru. And if you find her out and about in D.C., you'll notice she has a great, funny wedding story for you. So we have to interject this in here because obviously this hilarious horror comedy movie, black comedy, what you ever want to say, I guess, is about a wedding that couldn't possibly go wronger. That's not a word, but I just made it up. Sarah, thank you for being here. And what do you think? Are you ready to discuss this hilarious movie with us today?
Oh, I am so ready for this movie.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, it's pretty. I had never heard of it, right? I think you were the one that suggested it because you wanted to make a tie-in to it with us for wedding. Tell us about Wedding Dish podcast, though. We got to hear about that a little bit. What's up with that? Tell us.
So I'll give you a brief overview, but basically we talk about conversations. We have conversations that you don't normally have surrounding wedding planning and the wedding process. So it's like the stuff you wish you could get the answers to, but you can't figure out what to even ask in Google. So that's what we talk about on the Wedding Dish.
Have you ever had Frank Egelhofer on your show?
I have not.
Do you know who I'm talking about? Because
I do not.
Oh, that's Martin Short's character from Father of the Bride. Remember, he's the wedding planner. Yeah, pretty great.
I forgot Martin Short's in that movie.
Great movie, great character. It's awesome. Anyway, all right. Ready or Not is 2019 film. It is okay. Have you ever seen Very Bad Things?
No.
Okay. You should watch a movie called, the audience should watch too, a movie called Very Bad Things with Christian Slater and Cameron Diaz from 1999. It's a bachelor party that goes horribly wrong. And this kind of reminds me of this a little bit, right? Matt Bettinelli-Olpin, I'm going to butcher his name, and Tyler, what is it, Gillette? Ugh, sorry, guys. No, we don't mean any harm on that. But they're your co-directors, and they had done some interesting stuff. This guy, Matt, he did, he did something recently. Oh, Abigail. He did the Abigail movie with the little girl vampire.
Right.
So he's done some spooky stuff with his friends and stuff. So they've done some kind of cool stuff, right? So they were good to do this. So this movie opens up with these people in this big giant mansion, and this guy's running away, and he's in trouble, and he finds this little kid, and this little kid we think will help him, and the little kid ends up yelling like, hey, he's in here, he's in here, he's in here. And these folks show up with these masks on, and they're dressed up, and they got weapons, and they take this guy away, and you're like, what is going on here? And we fast forward later on, right? 2 years later. And we see this woman. She's about to get married, right? And it was Samara Weaving. Is that right? Is that the actress's name?
Yes.
Who I think is Hugo Weaving's niece. Is that right? I think.
I don't know, but she's in The Babysitter.
She's the babysitter, which Tara and I reviewed. Yes, she's a babysitter. Yep, that is her. That is her. So she's about to get married, right, to this dude. What's his name? Alex, I guess. And this is a very rich family, and they're talking about getting married. He's sitting there hour before, which, I mean, isn't this, first of all, wedding etiquette? You're not supposed to see bride, groom before the service itself, right? So, yeah, what are we doing here?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
It's bad luck.
Yes.
The tradition says that it's bad luck, which I think is exactly why they did that.
Yeah, they have pretty bad luck.
Yeah.
But he gives her this moment of, hey, do you want to back out of this? Here. You can literally walk away, you don't have to get married thing, which is weird. And she's like, nah, I'm in it. I'm in it. And then great line of hey, you ready for this? And she's like, oh, heck no. I'm not ready to do it. Then she's outside and she's getting the wedding photos, and you meet the horrible, you realize this family is insanely wealthy. and they're not very nice people, right? Stereotypical rich people. The mother comes out, oh, yes, of course, and she's smoking a cigarette, and they don't like me very much either when I first met them, and blah, 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 and it goes on, and you hate these people right away, right? You don't like them.
Actually, so I thought this was interesting because Andie MacDowell, who is the mother, I think her name's Becky, she is actually supposed to be very likable, and I found her like sinisterly likable. She really split that difference there, where she like you could tell she's still the villain, but like she might be like a Magneto if she was in the X-Men.
Interesting, nice X-Men comparison. I like that. We don't ever do comic book comparisons, so that's pretty good. Movie reference that did you ever see Multiplicity?
Yes.
Yeah, that movie's amazing. Is she the wife of Michael Keaton in Multiplicity?
I'm pretty sure, yes.
That movie is so great. Everyone out there, turn this episode off right now and go watch Multiplicity. We'll wait for you. Okay,
also, her first movie is Labyrinth with David Bowie. She's the older sister. That's her in Labyrinth? Are you kidding me? Yes.
What?
Yes.
Wait, the old Jennifer Connelly's sister?
Damn it. I did this the last time. I confused those two.
No, that's Jennifer Connelly, I was going to say. Because that must be a character I don't remember because, no, Jennifer Connelly is Sarah. It's
Jennifer Connelly that I'm thinking of.
So, yeah. Well, that's okay. Anyway, Multiplicity you need to go watch, right? Anyway, back to this movie. We like to ramble. So, she's getting the photos taken and the whole deal and everything, and they have those there. And they say they're going to have this game. Every time this family, somebody gets married, they have a game. And because their family got rich, I guess, with playing board games or whatever. And they find out, well, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself here. But they got their fortune by making a deal with the devil, as we say, is what we gather, right? So they could have their fortune, and therefore they play this game. And sometimes it's these silly things, but what happens is they have a game this time where she pulls the card, and they end up playing hide and seek. Seems innocent enough, doesn't it? Not so much. Turns out, that scene you saw at the beginning of the film, where the guy getting chased down, they were playing hide and seek from a previous wedding in that family. And what happens is they kill you. So
they sacrifice you to the devil.
Sacrifice. Thank you. That's a much better term. We're going to get to that word eventually. Yeah. So, and then you find out that the aunt, or the one woman with the silver hair, that was her husband that they killed, right? Mm-hmm. So they tell her to get a head start and go off and run. She has no idea what's going on. She thinks this is some silly game, right? Oh, before
and
this
she's drunk.
Yeah, well, she's drunk too. And some silly game, and okay, I'll go high, whatever. And so then you get the cool, great build-up scene where they play the 1920s the hide-and-seek music on the old record. And they all start getting each other's weapons, and they have, like, axes and shotguns and crossbows.
And,
like Daryl Dixon from, Walking Dead here. And it's just so bizarre. And you're like laughing, and you're like, what? You're kind of scared at the same time. And so she goes and hides out in like the dumbwaiter, and then she like gets tired of it, so she leaves. And at this point, just chaos pretty much ensues, right? And these people are just a bunch of drunken rich folks who pretty much bumble their way through the rest of this film in a way. And I say that in a way.
Oh, they're like airheads, basically. Yeah. That's the nicest way I can put it.
They're alcoholic cokeheads too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they start chasing her down, and people start dying. And a maid dies. She gets shot by a crossbow by the one stupid wife who doesn't know what she's doing, picks up a crossbow to move it and ends up firing it, and it shoots the maid in the mouth and goes through her throat and kills her.
Oh, God.
And it's like, but when these people die, it's not these like, oh, my God, I'm sad. It's like, that was kind of funny because these people are they're like, oh, darn, I killed the maid. And it's like, what is oh my God, this is crazy. And so what's her name? Grace, the character, right? Grace, is that her name? Right? Isn't it?
Of Samara,
yeah,
yes.
Right. So she's running around and realizing something's going horribly wrong here. And as it turns out, and they also have security cams, right? But they turn the cams off because the old way they played the game, there were no security cams, right? And they had to play the old-fashioned way. So her husband...
Tradition is important.
Tradition. It's very important in this family. Oh, what is her name? The Legrands or something?
La Domas.
La Domas. La dumbass, essentially. So then her husband, you start to realize he doesn't want this. And he realizes, oh, my God, this is terrible. He finds her in the bedroom and says, listen, I can't really explain this right now, but you got to get the hell out of here. Like, get your shoes, get your stuff. You got to go. Like, you got to go. And, I mean, what was your reaction being? What do you do at this point? This is crazy. You watch people getting killed. So he sneaks her downstairs, like underneath the kitchen, says, go out this way. I love she walks out in the room, and they're like, oh, wrong turn, because there are like three of them standing there with their weapons. And the stupid woman again shoots again and ends up shooting another maid, I think, this time. And then she's a total cokehead because she goes in her bedroom and starts snorting, and she's like, I got this, I got this, I got this. And this is when you start to realize this family dynamic. They all hate each other. They hate each other's spouses. They all hate each other. They're this spoiled, rotten, like disconnected from reality, insanely rich family that you and I were talking about rich people earlier in other parts of the country. And that's like where I get this from. And it's just like, what is going on here? But they have to like get this done. Like the patriarch, he seems utterly clueless too, right? And then I love when she gets to the kitchen finally, and Stevens is his name. He's like their I don't know, is he their bodyguard almost, I guess. And she like breaks like a glass, like a teapot over his head, and she's found this shotgun in the meantime, all these bullets, and she's trying to shoot him, and he tells her, hey, sorry, it's decorative purposes only, it's not a real gun.
Yeah, that's a prop gun or something.
Yeah. And this time she's like badass. She's like ripped apart her wedding dress, and she's got like her Chucks on, and she's gonna go kick some ass, dude. And you're like, all right, she's gonna whoop some ass. I'm ready to watch this here. And she's killing it. Like, she's really good, right? And then eventually she escapes and gets outside, and she gets out to like a barn, right? Or
God.
What is it? A stable, a barn?
It's a barn. It has a goat pit.
Okay. So she's in there, and she sees one of the brother-in-laws, and their kids are out there.
The woman who keeps accidentally shooting people in the house.
Emily, is that her name or something like that?
Yes, Emily.
Yeah. So Grace is like, oh, thank God. She puts up her hand, and the kid pulls out a gun and shoots her in the hand and shoots a freaking hole through her hand. She's like, oh, my God, what the heck is wrong with you? And she just like tosses the kid aside. But when she goes,
she punches him in the face and knocks him out.
Hits the little kid, and then she falls into a pit. I don't know what is like.
It's a goat pit.
It's a goat pit. And what's in the goat pit except a whole bunch of dead bodies, rotting
dead goats, and the
rotting,
uncle
decomposing bodies. It is disgusting. And I think we mentioned Abigail a minute ago.
You saw the uncle, right? That was in there. Yeah,
so
okay.
The one
who has the crossbows still through him, through his sternum.
Yep.
He's just sitting up in there.
It's so gross. And we mentioned Abigail earlier. If anyone's seen Abigail, you remember that scene. It's similar to this as well. It's just as disgusting. This director likes to put like pits of dead bodies in his movies. I love it, right? Anyway, so it's so gross. And then she climbs out, and it gets worse because you see she's climbing up the pit, and the audience has the shot from up top of a big nail. She's already got her hand blown off, and she puts her hand through the nail, and she climbs up the pit. She's climbing out. It's so bad. But, she's got to get out. So she gets out, and she's disgusting at this point, obviously. And it's just so gnarly. And it is just like the scene in Abigail. That's interesting. So she's now, I think, then what? Does she escape finally? She's on the grounds, and Stevens finds her. And he's got his car, and he's driving around, and he gets out. And he grabs her, but she twists him around and grabs like some of the part of her dress, and she starts to strangle him.
Yeah, she garrots him.
She almost kills him, but he's not dead. You see him get up. One of my favorite parts.
She thinks she kills him.
She thinks she does, yeah. And then the audience, we see him wake up. Then she's driving away in the car, and this is one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. She hits like the OnStar button, right? Hello, this is, and I don't know, they made up TripAdvisor or whatever the hell it's called. I don't know, they didn't call it OnStar. How can I help you? And she's like, people are trying to kill me. I don't know what's going on. And she's driving away, and he goes, oh, well, I hate to say it, but it's showing me that this car is stolen right now, so I have to shut the car off. And she's yelling, and he's like, is there anything else I can help you with? And she goes, why don't you go fuck yourself, you stupid idiot? And she's just like going
so
crazy.
Good.
And he's just like having this moment with like the guy on OnStar just like screaming at him, and it's so random and it's so funny. And it's just, the humor in this film has gotten so great at this point. You love it. And we may have missed this part. I want to forget. We see the dumbwaiter again because another maid gets killed in a dumbwaiter because it closes on her and freaking decapitates her. Not good if you're the help in this movie. You don't want to be the help in this film because you're not going to last. So she how does she get back in the house though after this? She gets captured by the brother again, right?
So when they kill the car, then Daniel, the brother who let her go originally, did we talk about how he let her go?
Ooh, that's a good point. He did catch her in the study, and as he's making himself a drink, and
when she got the fake gun.
Yep, the fake gun, and he's like, "I'll give you a 10-second head start," and he counts to 3 basically and yells, "She's in the study, come get her!" And that's So he didn't kill her when he met her the first time. But then I think after the car happens, then he sees her again, right? But they get her back in.
Yeah, they find her in the clearing. They're dumping the body of the nanny.
And they're just like holding up like the head. And they're just like having this husband and wife argument. And they're like holding dead bodies' heads at the same time.
Yeah.
Just like, we're having this conversation. It's all good.
So, then they drag her back. They knock her out, I think, and then take her back in.
Yeah.
And that's how she gets back in the house. And the dumbwaiter person was the person whose head they were holding, though, I think, in the clearing.
I think it was. I love it. It's so great. So at this point, they've lost some people. People have died. And they're going to try and make this happen now. And then, but how do we get back? No, that's not right. Because how do we get back to the car? Because remember the car scene with the live stream? We forgot that part.
Oh, right.
No, I think what happened, I think when she gets mad at the OnStar, she gets back out again, and he is woken up, and he gets back and grabs her. Oh, he hits her with the dart. Remember?
Right.
And then she passes out, and then he has his phone out, and he gets his phone, and he's driving back to call them, and he has them on like a Zoom call or whatever. And the shot is of him driving, and they're all in the room and the house watching. I got her, and he's playing the 1812 Overture, which, by the way, is a wonderful song for you fireworks lovers. And she gets up and she wakes up in the back and they're like, "Oh, dude, look behind you. She's awake. Oh, dude." And he does because he can't hear the music, and she just kicks the back of his seat. And the car crash, and there's this great car crash scene in slow motion, and she's screaming and the glass is breaking, and it's so awesome. And then they fall down the ditch, and that's when the brother finds her because she gets out of the car. And he brings and they bring her back. And now they're going to do the ritual with her, right? And they is that when they tie her up because she escaped? Yeah, they're gonna try and do this. She gets away, and then there's just a whole lot more murder. So the mother that we met, the Andy McDowell's character, Grace, beats her to death with a freaking box and just smashes her face. And they don't shy away. They do a great shot of this woman's face after she's been just beaten to death. And
it's the card box that she pulled the card out of.
Card box. Yep, it is brutal. And then also the brother dies because he gets shot with something else and he bleeds to death. While Alex, her husband, is like, "Don't die, please don't die." So you got these two folks just drop dead right there on the spot. And like, okay, this is like for real. She's like going crazy at this point.
Daniel's wife, Emily, kill him?
Maybe
I think she does.
Shoots him
I think
on
she
accident.
shoots him in the chest.
Yeah, I think so. These
or not
folks,
Emily.
They don't know what they're doing.
That's his sister, Charity, I think is his wife.
I don't remember the names, but I remember a couple of the names. But they basically end up shooting each other because they're morons. And, the weapons, the picking and everything is just so crazy. So she almost gets away, and then Alex comes up and tells her it's okay. And then he starts to like grab her, and you're like, "Oh, he's in on it." And he goes, I got her. And you're like, "Oh, dude, you knew we were going to go here. You knew he was going to be in on it."
As soon as Daniel was out, he was like,
exactly.
It switched in his brain, and he was done. He was like, it's all over now.
So they tie her up again because it's almost sunrise, and you think it's going to happen. And then we get this great, Rosemary's Baby scene almost where they're in the robes and they're chanting and "Hail Satan," and it's just like this great moment. And she rolls away. She gets to get shot in the dark, but she moves, and she gets him out of the way, and she grabs the knife, and we see that it's about to be sunrise. And we're like, okay, are these folks vampires? Like, what's going to happen here, right? And they open the curtains, and nothing happens. And they're like, what's going on? And they're all like bracing for like impact, and nothing happens.
The curse.
And they're like, well, nothing's happening. And they're like, well, what are we going to do about her? We're still going to kill her. And then the mother, or the knot explodes. And it's just like this graphic, gory, like explosion of human being. And you're like, oh, that was awesome. Then they all die that same way, and they all explode, and it's just amazing. And they're all like, the mom with the kids runs away, and they all like bursts into, like, oh my God.
It explodes back through the door so you don't see the kids and the mom explode, which I think is probably like by design. You don't want to kill kids like that.
The gore is like, oh my God. And the effects, they look totally believable. Thankfully, I've never seen a person explode. I don't want to. But I assume it probably looks like that. And it was just done so well. And then, of course, she's like gone nuts. She's like Sally Hardesty crazy in Texas Chainsaw at this point. She's just laughing hysterically. But she knows she won, too, right? She's laughing at these folks because they're dead now. And they deserve they got what they deserve. And he's like, no, it's all good. We'll make this happen. Don't worry about it. And then he
Alex,
dies.
the husband, yeah.
He finally dies at the end, too. And I love she walks away and the police, the fire show up. And she just goes out and she smokes a cigarette. And she just sits down like, what the hell? What happened? And she's just like, in-laws.
And meanwhile, the house is like burning behind her.
The house is just burning just completely burning down behind her, and she couldn't care less because she's just lost it at this point. And credits roll. And I mean, this film was, so like I said earlier, Very Bad Things is similar to this in ways. I wish you had seen that. It would have been great to talk about. This movie is great. It has massive gore and violence, which is tremendous. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's tremendous. But like the poke at society and these rich people and their problem with alcohol and drugs, obviously, and their basic dislike for each other and everyone else around them, and just complete like lack of understanding of how like the world, we're in this weird like we're just gonna kill people. Like it's perfect. It's so good. So now, from a person who does weddings, what is your perspective? I certainly hope you've never been to one of these weddings. Well, because you probably wouldn't be here. So
that would be the weirdest thing that I've ever seen happen at a wedding.
But you would be okay. The guests and the planner probably weren't involved in this. So you probably wouldn't have been killed. So you probably would be okay.
True. I just would have had all of the photos, which would have creeped me out for years and years to come.
You would have gotten rich having those photos, though.
That's true, too. I thought it was really interesting that they have, so when the police come up, she's sitting like at the base of the ceremony, like where you would recess out of the ceremony or process in from, depending on which way you're going. But basically, like, this is the end of the movie, so we're going to call it the recessional. She's sitting right where that would be. And the police come in through the ceremony space, which is still dressed.
Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah, because it's the next day. And, like, you don't always break it down that day, especially if it's at your own house or whatever.
It's at their property, obviously. Right.
Yeah. So I thought that was really, I thought that was an additional little like funny note, because it's another little like nod to the wedding industry where it's like, you know, you're sitting at the end of the aisle, like, what are you going to do here? And she's just like, in-laws.
I mean, that is, I would like to, I don't know, from your end of it, if you do this for planning, what would you, there weren't many like really funny, like, wedding necessarily moments like that one, I guess. That was probably the only really good one, I guess, though, right? I mean, they showed the photos
there were
at the beginning.
There were like, I mean, other than the traditional, like the bad omen of like seeing each other before the ceremony.
Right.
But then during the wedding photos, Charity tells Daniel that Grace will never be part of the family. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
And he says, of course not. She has a soul. Because those two like openly hate each other more than everyone else in that like, and this is Adam Brody's character and Elise Levis.
I don't know actors from this film. I don't know them.
So at the time, it seems like a slight against the wife and the family, like just kind of like a, very much like the in-laws comment where it's like a slight against them as humans. But later, you find out, of course, that they did actually sell their souls to Mr. LaBelle.
That's right.
So I thought that was pretty interesting too. But I kind of thought that there would be more that went into the whole wedding dynamic when I was watching this, because the whole thing happens in her wedding dress.
Right.
See, and like everyone's wedding attire, nobody changes.
No, they don't. Yep, it all.
The only thing she changes is her shoes, and then of course she rips off the bottom of the dress. Oh, and fun fact, they had 17 different versions of Grace's wedding dress.
Damn.
because they had to show the progress through the night and how her clothes corresponded to her attitude as well as what was going on outside. So, she slides through before she gets in the car. When she actually yells at because, like that rich dickhead drives by and like honks at her and yells out the window, which by the way is the director.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's awesome. I love that.
To get out of the fence, it's like this iron fence, and she has to slide through and exhale
She's
through.
Like trying to barely claw through that fence, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it scrapes, those like fleur-de-lis that they have at the top of those.
The fleur-de-lis, that's right.
It scrapes the top, like her triceps, so it rips open the dress in the back as well as her skin, of course.
Oh yeah.
It looks incredibly painful.
Oh, terrible.
You'd have to just exhale all the air out of your lungs. I just don't know how you.
Yeah. That's a great scene. I forgot about that.
And then so I like all of those different pieces they had to address with these different dresses. So there's 17 different versions, which I thought was just so brilliant for continuity purposes.
That is so cool. I love that. I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, I forgot about that scene. She escapes that gate, and you're like, okay, she barely gets through, and chances of her surviving all these injuries, what, 2% chance probably, something like that?
Oh my God. I mean, best case, she's going to have some infections, pretty significant. The hole in the hand that the nail goes through, which by the way is a reference to stigmata, because she has a soul and they sold their souls to Satan.
I like that.
I actually couldn't watch that part. I saw it coming because I saw them zoom in on the nail before she came up, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't watch this." So I covered my eyes and I looked sideways at Tara, because Tara formerly of the Scary Movie Project, came over and watched it with me, and I watched for her reaction because I just knew I wouldn't be able to handle it. But I also knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah, you knew. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she gets banged up in this film. Oh my God. You get shot in the hand. I mean, you might bleed out. I don't even from there. She tries to tie it up, I guess, at some point, right?
Yeah.
And the nail. I mean, she's beat up. She's punched. Oh my God. But you're trying to survive, so you're trying to. I mean, she's in a damn car accident, right?
Yeah, that one was the one I thought would get her.
What? Oh my God. Yeah, she's pretty tough. I thought she was Margot Robbie for a while.
Okay, so Margot Robbie was considered, or Robbie, I don't know which way you say her name. She was actually considered for this role.
Okay.
Because they do look very similar.
Yes, they do. Very similar.
Yeah, so she was considered, and I guess Samara Weaving got the part instead, which I thought was also pretty awesome.
So
they do look really similar, and they have kind of a similar badass vibe.
Aren't they both Australian too?
Yeah.
Yeah, Australian.
I mean, I think Australians kind of have to be a little bit badass. Their whole ecosystem is just trying to murder them all the time.
Australian women are very beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, their ecosystem is trying to kill. Yeah, their ecosystem is trying to kill them. That's a good point. Yeah, but yeah, that character that would be a good Halloween costume character, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it'd be great, but at the same time, would anyone really know? It's not that recognizable, though. I don't know.
I mean, it would have to be so our next door neighbor has themed parties, and she had a villain party last year. So I went as Poison Ivy from Batman.
Which one? Which Poison Ivy? Which Batman?
The actual
like comics, one of the movies.
The actual comics.
Okay, not like the Uma Thurman stupid Poison Ivy, not that one.
No.
Okay.
No, I went as like the original Poison Ivy from the comics.
Okay. All right.
I'm an old school girl.
No, that's awesome. I like that. See, 2 comic references now. Today, 2 comic references. This is good.
I have
Keep
a third one for you, actually.
All right,
apparently, this is how we're doing it today. So one of my trivia things for you is that a lot of the film was at Casa Loma in Toronto. And it is a designated heritage property. So it's a museum that's open to the public. And those secret passageways and everything actually exist. And you can like go through those, which is kind of cool.
I need to go to some secret passages. I went to a secret staircase in a castle once, and it was pretty awesome.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was very
Philippe's house when we started dating had a secret staircase.
That's awesome.
Because it was like an old like mansion in Adams Morgan.
Love it.
That they converted into like a rental, like a group rental house. And it had like a.
I knew someone who had a house they sold, but they had a stairway that they like boarded up and closed off and they never used. That was I do want to have somewhere to live one day where I can pull a book or some sort of candle and it opens up in a secret passage, and it'd be amazing, right?
Oh, that would be the best,
wouldn't it? I know. I'm sure you could build that in your house, but anyway.
So this property was used. It's used in a bunch of movies.
Okay.
But it was used in Crimson Peak.
Oh yeah, okay.
From 2015, The Pacifier, which I haven't seen, from 2005. I feel like that was a dumb. Like, sorry, maybe I shouldn't have said dumb. I think it might be like The Rock movie.
It's a movie we wouldn't review on this program.
Yeah, something like that. It's something that I would call it a laundry.
He's like babysitting
like
kids,
that.
and he has to save the world or something, right?
Yeah, something. It's what I would call a laundry folding movie. And X-Men from 2000 was filmed there.
Oh, that was the estate or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, that's the mansion.
Greatest babysitting movie ever is?
Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
That's pretty good, but I would have said Adventures in Babysitting.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Isn't it? Yeah, those are both pretty good. Babysitting double feature. And you can add The Babysitter, starring Samara Weaving as well. See, tie into other. You can listen to our episode about that. Please enjoy. Anyway, okay. So that mansion was in those three movies, you said?
Yes, and the exterior of it is the exterior shots of the mansion were at a different estate in Parkwood. It's called Parkwood Estates in Oshawa, Ontario, or Oshawa, Ontario. And that was the grounds for Billy Madison.
Oh, right. That's where he lives? That's the Madison estate? Oh, yes.
So where they get married, now, like, you're going to have to rewatch it, and you'll be like,
yes.
oh, my God.
That's it. That's where the clown, and he sings a song about, Veronica, I thank you for beating the shit out of me. Yes, yes. Billy Madison is the greatest movie ever. Yeah. We should review that movie.
When you watch that, you're going to be like, oh my God, that's that like cement area that leads to his pool area where he moves outside.
Where she punches him and drowns him and tells, yeah. Okay. Oh my God.
And the fountain is there. That's where they're taking the photos for their wedding.
He just hangs out with Norm Macdonald all day, and I think they're playing Marco Polo. Yeah, Marco Polo. Yeah, great game. That movie is so good. Well, let's just review Billy Madison for the rest of this episode, please. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Good to know. See. Oh man. Now I have to go watch it again, and now I'm gonna have to like put that back into my mind. That's amazing.
Yeah, we watched Happy Gilmore last night, so
it's a good one too.
Yeah.
He makes great movies.
Do you want my trivia?
Yes, I do.
All right. So we've got, first, I'm starting off strong with our body count, which is 14 confirmed.
Does it just say there's 14 dead, or does it name the people? Because I want to try to name the people.
It names the people.
Okay, can I try to name them and see how well I do, or am I going to derail you here? All right. Okay. We have the first maid. I'm sorry, I can't get a better name for her. The one that gets shot with the crossbow. Now, I don't know her name, right? But that's
I don't know her name either.
That's
it is
one
in here, but I don't know how I would identify her. So we'll just eliminate. We'll do that by elimination.
That's one. But before that, the husband that gets killed at the very beginning of the film. Him, right? That's one.
We don't know his name either.
That's two.
Charles, maybe?
I think
that's Charles.
So that's two. Then we have the lady that gets killed in the dumbwaiter later, gets like decapitated, right? That's three.
Mm-hmm.
Stevens, the driver, he finally dies, right? That's four. Okay. The mother, Andy McDowell's character, is 5. The brother is 6.
Daniel, yes.
This is before they all explode, of course, later. So I'm sticking with. All right, total's 14. You said, so we're almost halfway there. So that's 6. So then we go to the end of the film. Okay, so the father, that's 7.
Mm-hmm.
The crazy aunt is 8.
Aunt Helene.
Yep. The husband and wife who hate each other makes 9 and 10. The 2 kids, 12. The husband, Alex, 13. And then there's one. Who am I missing? Is one more. Who am I missing?
You just missed one of the house cleaning team.
Bam. There you go. I don't know their names, but there you go. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Charles, Clara, Tina, Dora, Stevens, Daniel, Becky, Aunt Helene, Fitch, who's the dad.
I don't know half their names. Yeah, who knows?
Charity is Daniel's wife. Emily, who is Daniel and Alex's sister, the one who is the total airhead.
The cokehead.
Tony,
Why
her
does
husband.
This always happen to me? I shoot people.
Alex, Georgie, who is the one that shoots through
Georgie,
Grace's hand, and then the younger brother has no name, so just younger brother.
We don't care about him anyway. So, okay. Anyway, all right. So 14 die. Okay, there's your count. Keep going. I'm sorry. Keep your trivia going, please.
All right. So, in this movie, in case it was unclear, Mr. LaBelle is the devil who they made the deal with.
Yep.
And so it's heavily implied because she pulls that card, the hide and seek card, that he doesn't think she's rejected basically from being part of the family. So here are the 2 reasons that they believe she was rejected. Okay. Because her motive for marrying Alex was actually love and not money. And so her soul would be more difficult to attain.
It would seem like she actually loves the guy when we watch the film, right? I mean, she seems to... Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, because she didn't even know he had money. And she, I
apparently.
think, was an orphan, right? She had lost her whole family.
I don't remember they mentioned it. Okay.
I think they mentioned it at the very beginning. And so she had kind of been trying to like make good with his family because she doesn't have a family herself.
Okay.
But he had been estranged from his family because he didn't want to be part of this. Like he had seen his uncle killed and he didn't want to be part of that after that.
I wouldn't want to be part of that either.
Yeah. And then it's also mentioned that Charity and Fitch had no issue selling their souls. So, but she wanted a family. And then Helene draws comparison between herself and Alex because both of them were resisting their destiny. So Helene is the crazy aunt.
Whose husband was killed on the wedding night, or that we see at the beginning,
who
right?
maintained that same haircut for a very long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time to have a statement haircut.
Yeah. Yes, it is. If I dyed my hair silver, it would probably look pretty much like her haircut, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it would. And your hair, it looks like a little bit like her hair on her wedding night.
Well, there you go. You got to look good, right? So, yeah.
So apparently her innocence and purity were, he wasn't going to be able to win her over. So he was never getting her soul. So he was not willing to have her even be part of it. So here, this was crazy to me. Originally, Grace dies in the earlier draft of the script after being successly sacrificed by Alex and his family.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The producers ended up changing it because, basically, they just felt like it kind of ruined the whole fun of it.
Yes, exactly. I would have been. I never thought about it. I would have been pissed if she died. Yes. Yeah,
I know, right? It would have kind of just. It wouldn't have been as funny. Like you have to end it on that funny note
because it's comedy. Yes, she has to live. Otherwise, I'd say kill everybody. But yeah, for this, yes, I agree.
Yeah. When you have any sort of comedy, there's that sense of timing, which is why that last line is so funny because of the sense of timing. And of course, in horror, you also have to have a really strong sense of timing. That's how you scare people. Right. So I love this kind of movie because it's such a natural pairing.
Yes. Well, horror and comedy are like peanut butter and jelly, quite frankly. People don't really think about that, but it's absolutely true. I mean, look at half these films we talked about. I mean, our very first episode, American Werewolf in London. It's hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious, but it has plenty of funny moments. Cabin Fever is one of my favorite films. It's plenty of funny moments. There's horror comedy are a great match. They're a great match.
Yes. Yeah,
They are. They are.
it adds something to it. You would have lost that comedy element if she died, which I think would have left all of us pissed.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you and I wouldn't like the movie nearly as much.
Well, and I'm glad they made that call. I think they made the right call.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So LaBelle is actually.
Let me ask you this. I don't know if is there a director's cut out there that has an alternate ending of her dying?
I don't think so.
Did they actually shoot this, or this is just a script thing?
I don't think they shot it. I think
okay.
it was
All
just
right.
the draft.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm curious when they made the change and who made the change. Honestly,
A rewrite from somebody that said, "Hold on, I don't like this." Yeah, so who knows?
Yeah, because when they shopped it around, and I always think these things are fascinating because the film industry is truly such an industry.
It's
where
something.
at any point, like, because you can be attached to the script, and then like any changes made, you may no longer be attached to the script as like the director, producer, whatever actor. And so you have to wonder, like, how did it take longer to shop it around to these different, like, I don't remember who actually did this movie. Is it like, it's not New Line?
Oh, studio?
Yeah.
I can find out for you. But,
Curious. But I wonder how many they had to shop it around to, and it got rejected because it just changes the movie entirely if she dies.
Yeah. No, it does. You're right.
So I'm curious, like, where the vision came in this process of, like, bringing in, maybe the comedy wasn't in. Maybe it was just a horror movie.
It could have been, right. How did it, what's its genesis, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it
I
start
love that stuff.
Right? No, I like that too. You're right. I'm going to continue working on who produced this, but continue with your trivia, please.
So LaBelle is actually French, and it means either like lease agreement or like a legal contract. So he is the guy that they sell the devil. He's the devil, like that they sell their souls to. The La Domas family sells their souls to. That allows them to have their wealth. So I thought that was like an interesting I always love those little nods.
Anything that involves some sort of satanic ritual in a film or selling your soul to the devil, I am on board for. So, okay. Mythology Entertainment, Vincent Films, Radio Silence Productions, and Fox Searchlight is your company.
Interesting. Okay.
The Radio Silence is a company that, the director and his buddies made. That's their company. And then Fox is the Searchlight was the distributor.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
You
you have to wonder, like, at what point in the process did they change that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we didn't touch on this as much as we probably could have, but the Le Domas family empire of board games is based on, they're like, basically that's where they get their money. They have all these board games, and they're displayed all over the house, and they have and that's one of the reasons that they can like justify having the games. So like, and whoever marries into the family draws these cards, and I think somebody got Black Widow. Or wait, what is that? Not Black Widow. What is that? Old Maid. Okay. Charity got Old Maid. Somebody else got something like Duck Duck Goose. Not that they invented these games, but they did have to run by all of the all the games by the board that determines ratings, and a lot of them were in there were a lot of Latin phrases used in this, so they had to like translate everything so that they could get a rating, which I thought was interesting too. Okay. Separate thing that wasn't in my little thing. But basically, the empire of board games was based on the now defunct manufacturers Milton Bradley and the Parker brothers.
That's where I would have thought too. I mean, because it's amazing. Money comes from everywhere, right? There's money in somebody's fortune was made by you playing Monopoly. Like, somebody got very rich off playing that game that you played when you were a kid, right? And it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, someone's out there making their millions off of xanthan gum. Like, really weird.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah, it's crazy. Somebody got rich off of something. Just like there's always, because you all enjoy this podcast so much, there's something for everyone. And there's also some way somebody made a bunch of money some way too, right? It's crazy.
It's wild. So the bedtime story that the nanny slash maid, Clara, who's the first death, is reading to the boys is actually from John Milton's Paradise Lost. Did you catch that?
No.
So what she's reading in their bed
I don't even
to
remember
them is, here we may reign secure, and in my choice to reign is worth ambition though in hell. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven.
I don't even remember that scene. Okay. All right. Well.
I think she's reading to them like right before she gets killed.
Okay.
It's like one of her, just a little bit of character development, so you care that she gets killed.
Yes. We have to have some interest in you. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, you have to make it up in the actual death, which I think Dora is probably the one in the dumbwaiter.
Okay.
And she's having like a panic attack because she sees one of the other ones get murdered. And so, and Grace is trying to calm her down. And
So because she's pure and all this stuff, is that why the character's name is Grace, by the way, too? Is that
I assume so, yes.
I would think so.
But I think it's ironic
her name could
that
have been Hope or something or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Charity is the name of Adam Brody Daniel's wife.
Ah, okay.
So I think that one is ironic because she is the biggest bitch in this entire thing.
Pretty much.
She's ruthless. I mean, there's like
she's
no
the one
redeeming.
Doesn't she mention, though, when they're out in the stall cleaning up the dead bodies, that she hated her life before this, and so she'll never give this up now? Isn't she talking about that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. She doesn't mention what it was, but who knows, she had some awful previous, whatever her life was going on, so I don't know. But
she says, I mean,
you know what? Let me ask you this.
Just hated it.
Let me ask you this. Is your life really that bad that it's better off by dumping body parts into a goat pit? I don't think so. To each his own.
I mean,
I'm just saying. I'm good.
It's not for me.
No, me either. I'm going to pass on that one.
I'm pretty happy with my soul intact as well.
That's right.
So the pepper box revolver wielded by Emily, the one I keep calling the airhead, is actually, yes, she is a cokehead also. Why is it always me?
Why does it always keep happening? Oh, it's not your fault, honey. Calm down. Yeah.
And at some point, Andie MacDowell does reprimand her and is like, get your shit together.
Yeah.
So that gun is like the specific gun that's been in Clue since 1972.
Oh my God, wow.
I love that. I thought that was just such a like good little reference that none of us would have gotten unless you were like a huge board game enthusiast, which obviously this family is.
That's a good point. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. The goat pit is literally the only thing that was built for this film.
Wow. Okay.
Everything else was standing. I thought that was crazy.
I find that, and that's so funny because I didn't know he was a director. So now, I mean, Abigail has that same basic scene where it's this pit full of disgusting dead bodies that she falls into, and the exploding bodies is in Abigail too.
Really?
This guy likes exploding bodies and pits full of dead bodies. Yes. So.
Wow. That's wild. I have not seen Abigail yet. I will have to watch it.
Yeah.
I did just see it on one of my streaming services the other day. So,
audience, if you'd like us to review it, just let us know, and we'll. I'm sure we can appease you on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to come back if you wanna.
Yes.
If you wanna talk about Abigail. She's also in a white dress that has a ton of tulle on the bottom, and
yep. She's a little ballerina dress.
Yeah, and which is very similar to the wedding dress. I loved that wedding dress.
Yeah, it was a cool dress. Yeah, it was nice. It had like
I thought it was
on
gorgeous
and everything, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
it was nice.
It had like
some
nods.
Spare no expense for them, obviously, right? So
yeah, it had some nods to Grace Kelly, but like only subtle nods, which I loved. And then it also, I mean, obviously, like it's very much a ballerina style dress, so it's meant to be very pure and young and like youthful, and like we think of ballerinas as being very like genuine, like heartfelt people in the way that we're taught about them.
Unless they're the ballerinas from the Black Swan movie. I don't know, man. So
True.
Yeah.
Okay, toward the end of the movie, Fitch recalls a fire incident that killed a whole family, and he then says, or then the dad says, sorry, not that. By the way, I think I said Fitch was the dad. Fitch is not the dad. Fitch is the guy that's watching the tutorial on the phone about how to use a crossbow that's married to Emily.
Oh, and he's taking a crap, right? Yeah.
Yes. And she falls out the window behind him.
Yeah, he is an idiot.
They're both a piece of work. Side trivia fact, the writers are the crossbow experts on the YouTube video that he's watching.
Oh my God, nicely done.
So
like that.
Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy.
That's awesome. I love it. That's a great little touch.
I love a good cameo.
Oh yeah,
I think they're fun.
I love when they sneak that stuff in there. That's perfect.
It's so fun.
Yep.
So the dad says that's what the media fed you, which basically like is a foreshadowing moment. I think it's harder to decipher verbal foreshadowing moments than it is in like, I'm going to always know they zoomed in on that nail. That nail is going through that hole in her hand. Yep. But those verbal ones, I don't catch as quickly. So I kind of love this. So when their house is going to burn down and everything at dawn, I thought that was like a little funny, interesting moment. And the cast and crew continue to speculate as to what happens to Grace after the movie ends.
That's a good point. What does happen?
Their guesses range from going on a honeymoon alone to being charged with murdering the entire family.
I hope she goes to the ER first. I think that's her first stop. And after that, there's going to be some questions. There's going to be a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. And I would have to assume she would not be found guilty based on what happened. But there's nobody left, so who knows?
I mean, she's literally covered in everyone's goo.
Yes.
So, like, the dress is no longer, it's now like it's actual like real blood color, not red, like actual blood. Yeah. So it's like a brownish color now. And if they tested that dress, they're for sure going to find everybody's blood on it.
Self-defense, man. She's all good. Self-defense.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you had a really aggressive prosecutor, I don't know.
Hire Marcia Clark. So here's the deal, right? Your questions may be answered. I have heard there is a sequel happening.
Really?
I read about that. It's very brief. Apparently, as of earlier in 2024, they said they were working on it, and apparently they were going to bring her back. I don't know if that's gone anywhere. That may be dead now. Could be development hell kind of thing. I don't know. But you may get your answer soon enough.
I'm so curious. I would love to think she goes on her honeymoon by herself.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
That would be so good. She's just such a badass, and I feel like that would be the right thing.
Because she's a bride, does she remind you of The Bride? You know who I'm talking about, of course?
From Father of the Bride?
Not so much. I was thinking more of Uma Thurman, Beatrix Kiddo from Kill Bill.
Oh.
Yeah, Father of the Bride, they don't do much killing in that movie, so.
They don't. I wasn't sure which part.
Although he definitely wanted to kill the son for a while. But, yeah, she kind of is like the bride, right? She's badass. She's running around killing people, right?
Yeah, she's not as wounded. She, like, picks herself up by her bootstraps better. Like, Uma Thurman is, like, emotionally very wounded throughout that movie. Like, she's going through a cycle of grief in a very different way. Whereas I don't think we've even gotten there with Grace.
She thought her damn kid was killed when she was tried to be murdered. So, yeah, I would think she'd be emotional about it. Heck, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would imagine that Grace would also at some point be emotional, but I think she's still in, like, that fight or flight mode.
That's what I meant. She's like Sally Hardesty, Texas Chainsaw Massacre at this point. At the end of the laughing in the back of the truck, like she's just gone nuts at that point. She's crazy by then. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe we'll find out what happens. We'll see. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I'd watch that sequel for sure.
You could totally do another horror comedy or dark comedy. I don't know what you would even classify. Matt, what would we classify this as?
I think you call it a dark comedy. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. You could totally do that on the honeymoon. Like you could absolutely rope that in.
Maybe like 20 years later, she starts this crazy trend again and like she brings it back and we do it all over again. Something like that could be. I don't know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be interesting.
There are lots of options. All right, my last one.
What you got? Yes.
This film was shot in 35 days.
Okay.
Which is, I think that's so fast.
Yeah, it's fairly quick. They did it pretty quickly. Okay, it looks good. It doesn't seem like they didn't like they sacrificed anything that I can tell. It looks pretty good to me.
No. Principal photography began on October 15th, 2018 and concluded on November 19th, 2018.
And they even had outside scenes to shoot and everything, which makes it complicated. But yeah, it seems like it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, all of the shooting was in Ontario, it looks like. So they didn't have to do like a ton of travel. Not that Ontario is like, the size of a peanut, but, and I didn't map these locations out, but I'm guessing they're within like 6 hours of each other. But yeah.
Maybe things happen faster in Ontario. I don't know.
Maybe.
Like
they
that.
do shoot a lot up there. That's actually...
lots of Canadian pride. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where they do all the Hallmark movies is in Ontario.
Toronto. Tons and tons of stuff in Toronto. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, there are a lot of benefits to shooting up there. I thought that was like so interesting. And they do actually use CGI in this, like a significant amount of CGI.
Well, the exploding people are certainly CGI. Unless they blew people up for real. I don't know. I don't really want to know about that. So
no, they just, that was CGI, and the hole in the hand and the nail is CGI.
Oh, yeah. That was great, wasn't it?
Which, I mean, they could have also accomplished that in many other ways, but so that's why I specify. But it's just surprising. 35 days is a tight timeline.
They did it though. Yeah, they did it. Good for them. I bet it was long days, I'm sure, but they got it done. That's awesome.
Anything outdoors you've got to do early.
Yeah.
That's especially because everyone's in wedding attire, which is like, evening gowns. So you've got to prevent people from shivering. Actually,
and everything was night shoots. Everything was nighttime.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh yeah, they did all night shoots in the actual house. Actually, and outside too. Once you get rolling in through after the wedding day.
Yeah.
During the family photos, when Samara Weaving is talking to Andie MacDowell, she shivers when Andie is talking to her, and it looks like it's done on purpose, but it was actually like cold. Real life. She was cold.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it really like drives home Andie MacDowell's point and what she was saying in it.
Right. It works. Yep. That's good. Yeah. All right. Ready or not? We're done with this episode. Oh, that's another good one. You knew that was terrible. I'm sorry. You just wasted an hour that was your reward. 2019, Ready or Not. It's pretty funny. It's pretty gory. It's pretty good. I'm glad we got to review it, and it went right up your alley to do wedding stuff for you too. So it covered every base we needed. Okay, 2 questions. One is, if you were in this film, what character would you be, and what weapon would you have used?
Ooh. If I was in this film, I probably would have been Grace. However, if I had to be a villain, I think I would have been Andie MacDowell. Mm-hmm. Weapon-wise, I probably would have gone with the crossbow.
Okay. Gerald Dixon. I like it. Now, I'll add my point of, I think I mentioned already a couple times, if you like this, you should watch Very Bad Things, right? That's just a great film. It's not a horror film, but it's another dark, wedding-themed great movie. What about you? If you like this, you should watch what?
Ooh, I mean, you've already reviewed it, but
Babysitter?
I feel... What'd you say?
Babysitter?
No, although you could totally also watch that. Oh my God, the 2 guys... the camping movie where the kids like think that they're murderers and they accidentally throw themselves into the wood chipper and
we did this movie? Oh, Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
Yes,
thank
you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We did do that episode. Yes, we did.
I requested that.
Was that a request from you? Wonderful. Okay, good.
Yes. I clearly have a type of movie.
I see. So we've got now, you've been on one of them now, which is good. All right.
I would also say there's like overlap with a lot of Jordan Peele movies.
Okay.
In terms of like comedic timing. So if you really like that comedic timing, that would be another That's the only reason I say that.
This movie has everything for everyone. Come on. It's great. So, all right. We know about Laughing with Gingers because you guys have been on the show and we love you. But again, plug it, Wedding Dish, and all your stuff. Where's everyone going to keep listening to your stuff and keep finding more of your stuff here?
Yeah, you can find us on any of your podcast platforms, anywhere. We're also on YouTube. It's The Wedding Dish. If you want to find us on Instagram, we're at The Wedding Dish Podcast. Our website's The Wedding Dish Podcast. That's where you're going to find us pretty much everywhere. And it's lots of fun. It's good times. We don't talk about horror movies, but we talk about a lot of wedding stuff. Sometimes they're horrible.
Bridezillas are terrifying. Weddings are terrifying. And this is a good anti-wedding film, that's for sure. You don't want to get married. This is a movie for you, I guess.
This is not how you want to spend your wedding night,
no,
for sure.
Dead? Yeah. So, yeah. Well, and you guys know the deal. At the Scary Movie Project, Instagram, Facebook, email, thescarymovieproject@gmail.com. Do you want us to talk about any more of these hilarious films? Should we review Billy Madison? Should we review a very, very bad things? I don't know. I will if you want me to. But anyway, that's the deal. Thank you, Sarah, for coming on. This was a lot of fun. We'll do this something again, I'm sure. And until next time, don't forget, I'm the hurricane that knocked down your mother and home.
The Scary Movie Project podcast. Learn more at thescarymovieproject.com.